Good morning. This is the yearly roundup, but I figured since it's been 5 years, we would do this live. That will let us go a little bit longer, dig in on some analytics a little bit deeper if people are interested, and talk with all of you. Thank you for joining this morning. It's hard to believe that we've been doing this for 5 years. Though I did put on my You May Know Will Celebrate Briefly shirt. It's currently snowing outside, so not super excited about that. I have the chat on the teleprompter, the Elgato prompter, so hopefully I will make at least some eye contact with you throughout this. But yeah, if you've watched any of my year-end wrap-up videos in the past, we'll try to do something approximately similar to that. Though I actually didn't re-watch any of those to remember what analytics we looked at. So that's mostly what we're going to do. If people are interested, at the end, we might take a quick look at how things are going in Unreal. The TLDR of that is we haven't made a ton of progress for a variety of reasons, some legitimate, some simply me having difficulty re-entering into a flow state. It's been a long time since I did a job that allowed me to work in a flow state, and as it turns out, it isn't as hard as it isn't as easy as it used to be. I've had a couple of times when I've been able to do a good solid 2 hours of work, and yeah, if anything, I feel like maybe I've been kind of pushing away for it as the flow state approaches. It's almost like my psychology has been pushing back. The thing I said in the comments, yeah, I was trying to do a live stream for my members of All Quiet on the Western Front, which is in the public domain in the US and might not be in the public domain in some other jurisdictions. In any event, YouTube lost their minds, chopped that stream short, and put a copyright strike on my channel. That copyright strike seems to have turned into something else. I'm not 100% sure. It's been very frustrating. I'm still not 100% sure if that was a mistake or if it was me making a mistake. It does look like, at the very least, the German book that All Quiet on the Western Front is based upon is probably still under copyright in Germany and a couple of other jurisdictions, because those countries have a death of the author plus 70 years copyright law, which the author died in 1970, so it'll come out of copyright in 2041. I can't quite figure out how that applies to things made by corporations. It seems like most jurisdictions have a 95-year copyright rule for things that are going to be owned by organizations that will never cease to exist. But it's actually been shockingly difficult to actually figure that out. So we're going to be super careful for the next 90 days or so to try to make sure that YouTube doesn't get mad at me again. But that's what's going on. That's what happened. If you've been looking at my weird comments and trying to figure out what am I talking about, that's what it's about. I'm just going to switch out this coaster so I don't keep clanking. If you have it, so let's start looking at analytics, math. If you see something that you're interested in, please throw a comment into chat. Yes, you are absolutely right. The fact that there isn't any place you can go and look up a property and say, what's the current state of the copyright on this globally by jurisdiction. Even one that was, honestly, even one that was just American would be helpful. It is very annoying. There is a database I found which has active filed claims, but that seemed very incomplete, and it was really hard to search through because it included anything that, even the stuff that had been rejected. So I don't know. Yes, very annoying. Okay, so we will do. All right, so I'm going to move myself. Where should I put myself? Whoops. All right. Yeah, that's fine. All right. It's unfortunate YouTube analytics. So we're going to be live in the YouTube analytics here. Unfortunately, they don't allow you to do multiple comparisons. What I actually was hoping to do was to actually compare each of the 5 years, but it would be nice if YouTube lets you stack up the comparisons on top of each other. I guess it's really kind of only useful for this kind of purpose, so that's probably why they don't bother. But we'll go through and talk about different things. So views are up massively on the channel. I believe 3 of my top 10, actually it's probably actually 4 of my top 10 best performing videos of all time are from this year. One of them for annoying troll reasons, but 3 of them for legitimate reasons. Number 1 performing video on the channel of all time is the combined Anthem video. Came out basically on the same day as Anthem went down, which I think got extra attention. Also, I do think there are some very odd YouTube peculiarities, shall we say, in terms of if you start watching a really long video and then you stop or walk away and then come back and continue watching it, I think that's showing up as multiple views. Looking at the way the views came in, that's the only thing that really makes sense. It actually, honestly, is the only reason why it makes sense why that that video, which is a compilation video, has more views than the individual videos that make it up. But in any case, yeah, it's 72,000 views. I suspect it'll probably cross 100,000 views by the end of the year. It's only getting maybe about 150 views a day, but you know, as that decays down, that's probably going to be enough. It probably will be enough to push it over 100,000 by the end of the year, or at least get close. Hey, if you want to get that there faster, you could just watch it a second time. Currently filtering out shorts views, so I started doing shorts a lot more this year again. I'm using a tool that lets me clip out bits more easily without having to go through the trouble of bringing it into video editing software and chop it up that way, which makes the amount of work required to make a short go down by about 90%, I would say, and just the friction is much lower. So I started doing shorts again. I don't know how much they're doing. Let me just switch over to shorts. Let me get rid of this filter. So so notice if I pull out the filter, so we're looking at everything, the channel has more than triple the number of views of last year. That's not a reasonable comparison because I basically didn't do shorts until the last 12 months or so. So I switch over to shorts. You can see, like, I got 370,000 views on shorts. but I'm not 100% convinced that shorts are doing a ton. If I just, let me see, if I do this, let me get rid of the comparison and add in a few things. So, subscriber and watch time and there, let's do that. Oh, doesn't show me. Yeah, there you go. So there, shorts for the last, and let me put that comparison back in. Let's see. Let me see it. Yeah, there we go. So, just shorts views. It's showing just watch time now. All right. So let's get rid of the comparison. Can you show me everything? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, I mean, last year with just shorts, 370,000 views, 1,993 watch hours. So, you know, it's not nothing. Shorts make almost no money. I mean, what's that? I'm making $39 on 370,000 views. So, what's that? A penny? Is that a penny? Bump up. No, not even a penny. Yeah, a penny. No, sorry, a tenth of a penny. Yeah. So, I mean, less than a penny a view is yeah, so what is that? For 1,000 views, I'm getting yeah, 10 cents for 1,000 views for shorts views. It's so like I said, it's not nothing. Gain 150 subscribers, but if I switch this filter, let's just compare. Like, so 370,000 views, 150 subscribers, $39. If I just do videos, about the same number, 390,000 views, gained 3,600 subscribers. And made $3,100. So 100 times as much money for a similar number of views. Totally different views, obviously. I get that. So will I keep doing shorts? I think so, only because the effort is so low. Could I make the shorts be better, have better retention, perform better? Maybe. But, you know, 300,000 views to get 150 subscribers. If I did 10x the amount of work, I could probably get that 350,000 views, say up to 1 million. Let's say 1 million. So to gain 400 subscribers and make $100. So I think the amount of work that I would be required to put in to get shorts to actually do something significant is so high that I think that where we are right now is probably reasonable. So there's just my little thing about shorts. There are certainly channels on YouTube that are doing amazingly with shorts. That shorts are their entire channels that have been able to build entire brands off of massive short performance. But I am not one of those, and it's not working the opposite direction either. I also started posting on TikTok again because the tool I use actually lets me post to TikTok with a single extra button press. That has been a big giant nothing. Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff. So let's go back to watch time hours. Well, let's put that comparison back. Period. All right. Okay, so yeah, watch time hours, again, massively up. Mostly, you know, if you put out a 3.5 hour long video, it's going to make a big difference. Obviously, almost quadruple. I think if we go back an extra year, custom, let me just change this to like this. I think last year was kind of weak. Yeah, no, basically almost quadruple again. So this has been a big viewership year in terms of just raw numbers. I think what we'll see is that, you know, 4 times the views, 4 times the watch time isn't going to turn into 4 times the revenue. But whoop, now what did I do? Oh, you can see why I normally record these, because it takes a bit of finagling to get things to show what I want. If we go to oops, not watch time. So watch time, but I want subscribers. Okay, subscribers. So last year was really low. It was on subscribers. Let me get rid of this filter so I see everything. Last year was really low in terms of subscriber gains. We barely made it to doing the 20,000 subscriber Q&A at the very end of the year. Now we're at 24,000 and a bit subscribers. So so things have picked up dramatically in the last 12 months. Again, if you look down here, why? Because I had a couple of videos that went big and they picked up a ton of subscribers. So that's what usually happens, is the channel, when I'm not publishing, this is sort of the state where the channel has reached, is when I'm not putting out wider reach videos, the channel is almost flatlined. We might gain about 30 subs in a month. Basically what's happening is I'm actually gaining, because if I do this, here, I'll show you. Like you can see, I'm actually, I net gained 5,400 subscribers in the last 12 months, but I also, like, that's partially because I also lost about 1,800 subscribers. And that's what a typical month, when I'm putting out normal content, sort of normal, very leadership or production focused content, those videos do fine, you know, get 1,500 to 2,500 views. But I basically gain subs at about the rate that I lose them. I might net out about 30. So almost all of the growth of the channel comes from the videos that go bigger. And sometimes mostly those are the Bioware focused ones, which, you know, we're almost out of those. There's one more series to go for Veilguard. So it does say things for the long term that the channel probably is going to peak out at around 30,000, 40,000 subscribers. It's not what I expected. I've talked about this in the past. My expectation was that this was sort of an S-curve, and maybe that's right. Maybe the reality is that this is an S-curve, and we're just near the top of the S-curve. But my expectation was you grew really slowly, and then you crossed the threshold, and then you grew really quickly for a while, and then you saturated your market, and then you basically plateaued. Like, you watch people channels when they're trying to cross 1 million, and they're moving like this right at 1 million. It doesn't seem like that's what's really happened with me. I kind of grown almost linearly for the last for the whole 5 years. Not quite, but there have been bigger years and smaller years, but it's been about 5,000 subscribers a year. I've gained about 5,000 subscribers a year, and that's been pretty consistent. So if there is an S-curve, I basically started near the end of my S curve. Watch hours. Whoops. Okay. So watch hours, 84,000 versus 21,000, massively up. Question is, have I thought about doing interviews? I've thought about it, and I do think that it would probably make the channel. It would probably make the channel do a lot better, but my interview skills aren't honestly up to snuff. So I might do it. I'll reach out to a few people that I know in the industry that might be interested in doing that sort of thing. That might be able to carry a little bit more of the interview process. So yeah, definitely I have thought about it. Yeah, so yes, Julia's right. The algorithm is doing whatever it's doing, and they're definitely trying to figure out some new things. They are pushing smaller channels more. I qualify as a not smaller channel, but I do show up in more people's homepages, probably. So what I think is happening right now with the algorithm is, if you've never watched a video of mine ever before, the chance of me showing up in your homepage is actually greatly higher than it was 18 months ago. If you have watched one of my videos before but haven't watched one in a while, the chances of me showing up on your channel are actually down a lot. That's what it seems like is happening. There's also, there's all of the what's going on with the homepage is changed so that it's showing fewer, bigger thumbnails. That's bad for me because if I'm on that list of 3, that's awesome because my thumbnail game remains, let's say, iffy. But I think what's often happening, because my click-through rate is usually lower than it's certainly lower than the best. I'm often not in that 3. Yeah, that's exactly right about interviews. It's way harder than I've done it. I think once, being on the other side of it, and I think we would end up with a lot of awkwardness and dead air. So I'm not saying no, but if you're someone that works in the game industry and want to do one, you can reach out to me. We can talk about it and we can try it. It would have to be pre-recorded for sure. Why don't we actually go and talk about click through? What is it called? Click through rate. What's the metric called? Clicks per card shown, clicks, pressing click-through rate. Okay. So, we're click-through rate, and like I talked about, we're at 3%. So, we've gone up since I started to pay attention. We've gone up a little bit every year, but and we're consistent now. I mean, the $70 in Bayou Cruelty has highly, highly, highly skewed metrics because several much larger channels basically review bombed the thing, and so that shows up as this effectively those click-through, those are showing up as insanely high click-throughs. But then if you actually look at that video, it's got just awful metrics because people were coming in, pausing after a second, leaving a nasty comment, and then leaving, putting a thumbs down, and then leaving. So that messed that came out early January. That messed the metrics up on my channel for 3 or 4 months. I don't know why. I don't know why the that's the I see the 73% there is the podcast cut of the memories and lessons. So it's actually unlisted, which is why it's so high, because it's basically being shown to almost nobody. So still working on it, still not great. I think some of the best in the business are getting click-through rates in the, I think around 10%, and I'm more like around 3%. I don't put a ton of time into my thumbnails. I probably won't start. But we'll keep poking at it and see if we can get it better. Yeah, I mean, I do interviews on channels, other channels, on occasion. I mean, I don't reach out to them, but they reach out to me. I am still a figure of some note in the video game industry within certain circles, so people do still reach out on occasion for me to do interviews, and usually will say yes unless, like, unless you are I'm not willing to basically give you free content because of like your lack of any journalistic integrity, shall we say. But I do that, and it does make a difference a little bit. But actually, it doesn't actually help as much as you would think. Yeah, it doesn't help as much as you would think, honestly, because usually what happens is you get a little bit of attention, and so you're getting like maybe like if you do an interview and that interview gets 10,000 views, you might pick up a couple hundred. You might pick up a couple hundred subscribers. Yeah, I can do an interview. Like, I can be interviewed. That is a different skill set than being an interviewer. I definitely have done tons of interviews, and I have a lot of media training and just a lot of media experience. But those are very different animals. Let's see. Is this? Oh no, I want that. I want percentage views. Okay, so percentage views. So this is sort of a retention. I don't know how useful of a metric this is, because two things are probably jamming this. Let me filter out the shorts. All right, there we go. That's something realistic. Two things are messing up this data. One is the $70 in Bayou Cruelty, which has a view duration of like 5% or something like that. Because, like I said, a big number of people who are coming in from various gaming sites or gaming channels were coming in, pausing, and leaving a nasty comment and leaving, that video got 60,000 views, regardless of, they're not real views, but that threw the numbers off massively. The other thing is that putting up a 3.5 hour long video that gets the most views of anything on your channel ever is going to majorly mess up your average views, because like very few people are sitting through in one single view and watching a 3.5 hour long video, even if they watched it in a bunch of chunks. I think like I said before, I think that what that shows up, if you watch it in 7 half-hour chunks, that shows up as 7 views, but each of them is only a half hour viewed. So I think that's why it's massively down, but not 100% sure. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Is that the people I'm reaching mostly the people that I want to reach in terms of people within the game industry that are moving into leadership positions and can use or are new to production or those areas. So it's like we've talked about this in the past. I'm not trying to be the biggest gaming channel in the world or game production channel in the world. I'm not really addressing I'm not really addressing a broad audience. I'm not as good a storyteller as Tim Kaine, and Tim releases a video every single day. So, his channel's been around a lot less time than me, but he's released more videos than I have because he releases a video every single day. He has, I think he's at 150,000 subscribers. But also he's got a better storyteller. I threw away all my notebooks. He kept all his notebooks. He's got a better background. Yeah, usually when I'm doing an interview for another channel, they want to talk about BioWare. It's not been like 100% just the same, retreading the same content. Someone might be, it's whatever, Baldur's Gate 1's 75th anniversary. People want to talk about Baldur's Gate 1. So it's, it goes over different territory. But it's not, usually we're not talking about what the channel is about. So this channel is mostly about leadership and about production and about game development. If I'm talking to another channel, it's usually about a specific game or about BioWare in general. Not always, but usually. Oh, I'm going to do one thing while we're sitting here. Why don't I give out some memberships? So my memory, the one time that why is this a million years in the past? The one time that anyone came to the Edmonton office and was angry was with the Mass Effect endings, and that was supposed to be a massive demonstration, and it was like one guy. Thank you very much. I have done a few interviews on more general production things, and it's always going to be, when I'm talking, it's always going to come back to my experiences. So I'm never going to be doing an interview where it's not going to come back to BioWare to some degree. But yeah, I mean, like, there are definitely, I've done a few interviews with regard to game development, with regard to production in a more broad sense. And certainly, if there's a channel that's focused on that, the overlap is better. If I'm on a general gaming news site doing an interview, the overlap of those two audiences is not zero, but it's not perfect. Okay, let's get some other. Oh, actually, what's this? Yeah, we looked at that. Okay. This is an interesting. Yeah, doesn't want to do that. Oh, thank you very much. Well, let's talk about revenue. Let me just see estimated revenue. Okay, so yeah, revenue up dramatically. Actually, a lot of this. Let me see. I think I have to remove the comparison to do this. Maybe I have to go. I do revenue source. Do this. That a channel or a series like that would be a lot of work. I mean, essentially, if I wanted to make a shooter with a $50,000 budget, this is what I would do. It'd probably like that's you're basically doing pre-production to do it properly. There's a lightweight version maybe where it's just kind of like off the cuff. But that would be quite a bit of work. Okay, what if I? Oh, here we go. That's what I wanted. Okay, so now I can put the. So like memberships are up quite a bit. But I think if we add that comparison back in, yeah, it's a massive amount of the increase is actually from watch paid ads, because every whatever it is now, 30 seconds, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, YouTube is showing an ad. If your watch time goes up by a factor of 4, then the revenue is going to go up similarly. Not by a factor of 4, as it turns out. Looks like not even triple, but it does go up. Actually, that's an interesting question. But similar, YouTube Premium is a bigger percentage of my, way bigger. Oh, that's a big change. Okay. So, this doesn't seem right, because historically, YouTube Premium has been about 10%. Oh, of watch ads. Yeah, that's right. And it looks like it's been climbing, because this last year it looks like it was about 20%, and then this year it looks like it was about half. I don't know what's going on there. I think maybe it's YouTube getting more and more annoying, and so more and more people are getting YouTube Premium. I have YouTube Premium. It is better. I've seen some people make the argument that you make less per view for YouTube Premium. I don't think that's true. It may be true for someone if you're watching hundreds and hundreds of hours of YouTube videos a month, then maybe because your whatever $20 is being split so many ways. But I think on average it's probably more. Yeah, I mean you're definitely right. It would be an interesting series. I just have to figure out how to do it on at a reasonable amount of time investment. So, like I said, revenue is up quite a bit, but driven in large part by actually just more views. So chances are, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Veilguard this year. If Veilguard comes out this year or next year. I just have a feeling right now that it's going to probably be next year. So this year, 2026, probably going to be a down year, because probably subscribers will be more of that sort of steady state. Revenue similarly will be down as a result, so because I'll lose members and the like. Well, and then eventually we will do Veilguard, which will pop the channel again. And then I don't know what happens to the channel after that, because maybe the channel enters into a long plateau. Maybe it starts the process of decay. We will have to see what happens at that point. We are starting to do game development again. Maybe we'll take a look at Something Hexagon, what is there if people are interested at the end of this. This is not going to become a game development YouTube channel. I'm not going to record myself doing development on any significant cadence. I'm not going to talk about the best ways to do marketing or any of those things. My experience is AAA. I think I've worked with indie studios, and I think that the things that I've learned are useful to them, but they also have a lot of skills in terms of grassroots marketing and generating hyper-targeting niches and things like that, which I don't have experience with. Not to say I can't build it up, but it's certainly not things where I have a very strong skill set at the moment. So don't expect me to suddenly start posting dev diaries every week or really long streams where I'm developing on stream. That would be that would both be terrible for my productivity in terms of actually doing development, and also the most boring thing you could possibly watch. So there are other game developers out there if you're interested in that kind of thing. Let's see, what are other things that I've done in the past? This is like a geography. Looks like, yeah, Canada remains outsized. Even they've dropped to third. I think that is simply because I have a lot of viewers at BioWare or BioWare or former BioWare, but breakdown roughly the same. Will I do more Let's Plays? Probably. They don't actually do very good. Like I'll I don't know. I kind of fell off during Dragon Age 2 because other things came along in terms of doing the BioWare games. And I had a lot of trouble streaming Anthem. I think it was eating my bandwidth so much that the outstream was really bad. But in terms of doing Let's Plays of other games, like, I did a little bit of Blueprints. I did some of Unpacking. So it's going to be, if I'm doing non-BioWare games, it's going to be more niche things. They typically haven't done that great. I'm not... I don't have the natural ability to talk about, to pick up on things. I've talked about before that I'm a terrible tester because you could remove all the collision from the game entirely and I would never notice because it would just stay in the middle of the hallways. That also means that I don't necessarily notice all of the things there are to notice in a game on first blush. But yeah, I'll do them on occasion when something is worth a bit more attention. I should do Clair Obscur at least for a little bit, just to talk about my thoughts on that game a little bit. Okay, let's see. Yeah, launched the podcast. Haven't posted anything significant there. Sounds like YouTube is now the #1 podcasting platform, so I probably need to get back on that. Okay, let's see. Go back to content. Yeah, I mean, Clair Obscur, the people hate it when I say this, but here's what I'm going to say. Games like Baldur's Gate 3, Clair Obscur, things like that are successful, and they're good games, and they're well made, but they probably don't represent an actual sea change. They are Baldur's Gate 3 in part sold because it sold. Like it got big enough that some people bought it because it was doing really well. They had heard of D&D, they watched the D&D movie, whatever. And they bought it to check it out and then bounced off of it super hard. Clair Obscur got a lot of buzz because it was a AAA adjacent game made by an outsider studio for a very small budget. So it was a lovely FU to the AAA game industry, and people like that story. But it is a turn-based mechanics game. I would argue that actually, in a lot of ways, Clair Obscur is probably more accessible to the average gamer than Baldur's Gate is, especially on the consoles. Baldur's Gate 3 is the user interface for that is hard with the consoles. It's playable, but I mean you got to be committed. Whereas Clair Obscur is a little bit easier there, but it's still turn-based with interrupts, and so it's not that they're bad games. It's not that they didn't deserve their success. It's that it's hard to say that they represent a sea change for the industry. Maybe what they're showing is that what if you have a game that is targeted and well made, you can compete legitimately with AAA with AA money. I think we're starting to see that. That's the story. Maybe that's wishful thinking on my part. That's the story I want to be true. I want budgets to drop from $200 million to $50 million. Is that true? I don't know, but that's what I want to happen. Yeah, that's right. People love to look at the outliers and extrapolate from them. Sometimes it's right. Sometimes things really did change, and there's a moment when you can see that. But in the same way that I've said, GTA has a massively undersized impact on the game industry because people look at that and say, well, I can't compete with that. I can't spend $1 billion making a video game in order to sell 100 million copies. Like, nobody can do that except for basically Rockstar. So people don't. Similarly, on the other side, it's hard for AAA developers to look at Baldur's Gate 3, to look at Clair Obscur and say, well, I can make a game with slightly lower visual fidelity, with more hardcore mechanics, and have a really strong relationship with my player base, and sell as well as I'm selling with so I can spend $35-40 million and sell as well as if I spend $200 million. It's hard to believe that. There are a lot of reasons to dismiss those two examples as one-offs, even though there are two of them. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. If I did interviews, it would be a conversation. It wouldn't actually be an interview. But that requires a relationship and in some ways that can actually be even harder, because with an interview, you have an interviewer that's essentially carrying the conversation. If things start to lag, they're able to put some gas back into it and get things going again. Whereas with a conversation, maybe it just falls apart. Maybe there's nothing left to talk about. So effectively it still is an interview, because either it is two people that know each other really well, in which case it's just a conversation, and it could be on any topic, and maybe that's interesting to some people, but it can go very pear-shaped very quickly, or it's effectively just an interview in a trench coat. I think we've hit all of the massive, yeah, like, I mean, I would certainly talk to Mike on stream. But I mean, probably if Mike's doing an interview, he's going to want to talk about his studio, which is fair. I mean, like, I would do that. But I suspect that if it was Mike and I, Mike would be carrying most of that conversation, including the interview, asking the interview questions part. So there are good reasons why he may not be interested in doing that. I think we've hit all of the major metrics. Is there anything anyone is curious about that I haven't shown? Well, yes. So here's they are AAA publishers love taking the risk on live services, and the reason is that even though Baldur's Gate 3 sold a ton of copies and made a ton of money, a moderately successful live service will make more money than that. The top of the live services, they make so much money, they just drown out everything else. Most of the money that EA makes is made by Football Club. Next most, made by Madden. There's a reason why, even though it feels like most of these games burn out in a few months, which is actually true, they do. The ones that hit make so much money that it's worth it. It's actually like you can't compare a single player game to a live service game from a revenue perspective. That's why the industry is so messed up, is because it's like we have two different things existing in the same box. Do I track how long each video took? No, I don't. I mean, it took me basically 2.5 years to make the Anthem series. The one thing I've definitely noticed is that the longer the video, it's not a linear thing. If I make a 5-minute video, I can usually make that video in an hour. If I make a 10-minute video, it doesn't take 2 hours. It usually takes 3, and it goes up. It's an exponential curve. So something like the Anthem video, it took months of work. Like, it's hundreds of hours in that thing. Oh, thank you very much. And so I'm probably going to go into my thinking on Veilguard. Is what I'll do is what I ended up doing with Anthem is breaking it into 3 parts, because it was just taking so long, but it actually made it be faster as well. So what we'll probably do with Veilguard is I'm going to break it into 4 parts up front and literally film it as 4 separate videos, and then stitch it together afterwards. Anthem is actually really one big video that I broke apart 3/4 of the way through development to let it actually come out. With Veilguard, we're going to break it up right away. So with the 3 parts, we'll do Joplin. So basically 2014 over to up until 2020 or 2017, and then we'll do Morrison. So 2017 to 2020-ish. That line's a bit fuzzy. We'll do Dreadwolf. That's what I'm going to call it. Dreadwolf doesn't really have a better term, which will be from the moment the game became single player again up until about when I started working with them again, but basically when they hit alpha. And then we'll do Veilguard will be the last part. So from that that last part when the game basically came into its final shape. The other advantage of doing it that way is I actually feel pretty comfortable doing the Joplin parts right now. I've done my Anthem videos actually go more into the present day than the Joplin one would, because it would end in 2017. In fact, both the Joplin and the Morrison ones would be not much more into the present day than the Anthem ones were. So those first two of the four, I feel fairly comfortable doing them right now. Whereas the actual Veilguard one, I know it's going to ruffle some feathers, so I want to make sure that it is. I want to make sure that there's some distance. Will there be another memories lessons after the Veilguard? I don't know what I would do. I guess we could talk about the games I'm actually working on. I probably won't talk about any of the contracts that I've had. Mostly have not included any sort of public relations perspective, or the contracts fell apart. So probably nothing after Veilguard. I guess we can switch to this because we're not actually looking at any stuff anymore. We'll talk about Veilguard. I mean, the short answer is that it is 4 games with very rough stitching. The stitching is very visible, and it rebooted only really once, and it was, if you were only going to reboot once, it probably rebooted at the worst possible moment. Yeah, I probably can't talk about any of the contracts that I get usually. I mean, certainly I've talked to some studios that were almost interested in doing that on purpose. Nothing is active right now, but yeah, maybe that'll happen. Like maybe I will end up in a contract where they actually want me to talk about them as part of the contract. That could happen. I'm not against that. I guess the question is whether or not that we could reach a consensus about how much control they want to have over that, because I'm not willing to give them infinite control for sure. Let me just, I'm going to give away give away 5 more memberships. I don't know why, but my YouTube studio is showing the things in the past. Okay, I'm going to... Are people interested in looking at where we are with Something Something Hexagon? If so, I've been spending a lot of time on trying to get back into the mindset of the game developer, and definitely it is been difficult. There are a lot of rabbit holes. Ooh. Am I super jerky? Or was that just OBS having a little hiccup? Okay, so let's do... Nope. Let's do that. Then we will go... Can I do... Oh, no. Oh, wait. Ha. No. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I'll get myself out of the way. Whoops. Okay, we'll just stay in editor. Okay, so like we said in the launch, we're not really going in with any planning. I used Unreal a few years ago and then kind of fell off the wagon. So I had to remember how to do anything. We don't have any gameplay at the moment. I don't even have, if I run the thing, we don't even have a actual player controller. So we're just in a fly camera. Was playing with the day-night sequencer that excuse the giant moon, that Epic introduced, trying to get something. What I want, here's the hilarious thing, they have something wrong with their math. So as it reaches the center of the screen, it does this little jerk as it tries to move around the middle of the screen. So I have to fix that. The sequencer is an automated day-night plugin, which works really well. And as you can see, it's got some massive problems in terms of its math, because it's doing this weird circle in the middle of the day. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure the sun doesn't do that. So let me just set the day to something that isn't complete bananas. No, not that. This one. So I've had to do a lot of learning how materials work, learning how I made a piece of geometry in Blender, which is definitely a new one on me. But so the rabbit holes I've been falling into haven't necessarily been leading to gameplay. But the idea is, it's a big hexagon. We've got, I don't know what's going on with the lighting now. I don't have a relevant day-night. Does it? I don't know. The short answer to that kind of question on this project is we don't have a plan, so I don't have... I've largely been throwing things in and seeing what sticks. And so far what sticks is this kind of this hexagon shape. I really like the idea of this 6 elements idea. So with these oppositional elements, which is why we have one with a black keystone right across from the white one. And then we kind of get we get radiant, air, fire, dark, necrotic, whatever, earth, water. So we get this so I did make a tile in Blender because I wanted a beveled edge. So that's why these hexes, these are all literally, most of the level is made of the of these beveled hexagons. And I made a repeating texture so I could just stretch big polygons and have it look not completely terrible. It's not great. I would need to build actual models to build walls and such. But I found a few things. Like there's this hexagon paving stones, okay, I need to make it day. If I've broken it, oh, here we go. My day night is messed up. The sun is rising at 11:30. So there are a few interesting hexagon things out there. You managed to get a hexagon sky dome, but not quite right. But there isn't much more than that. I do need to get some gameplay in it, get an actual player controller in, get some UI. Definitely do want to get UI up and running. That's a big part in terms of making the game feel like a game. So probably that's going to be the next, but I've been largely just going wherever the attention is dragging me, which means that I've gone into some pretty deep rabbit holes. That's exactly what happened with the day-night cycle. I was looking to do day-nights. I had a fully handcrafted one that worked kind of. The out of the box you get controller support. I can't not do controller support. So what? I just can't imagine not doing controller support. The reason why that would change would be if if I end up doing something that's very, very tactical or really needs a mouse. But at the moment, I suspect no. I suspect I'll try to keep both things working. I'm not going to make every polygon a hexagon. I thought about making every texture a hexagon for a while, and then it just was proving super, super annoying. I think if I was really good at modeling, I might consider doing something like that. But no, but yeah, we definitely got less done than I was hoping to do. We'll see if I can plug this into. That's hilarious. OBS grabbed the window for the pop-up for the autosave. That's so funny. That was so funny. Okay. So OBS, maybe not the best thing. I wonder how I keep it from doing what it just did. Where it grabbed focus as the autosave popped up and took over the entire game. Yeah, not going to use any AI, no Gen AI in this thing. I'm going to look into, probably at some point, definitely going to look into conversation system. There are a few off the, I suppose I could disable autosave. Ugh. Yes, that seems like it's going to result in me being very sad. I think it's because the way I have OBS set up is that it is simply grabbing it's grabbing the window. So when the autosave came up, it's a new window, and that's the window. It grabs that window. I think that's probably where I'll just do this. That's probably where we'll end today. That's a reasonable place to stop. Hopefully you enjoyed this format. Yeah, so here's the answer I will give to that. The official answer is I don't know. There's no plan. Every time I've ever worked with any studio that wanted to try something new, it turned into something that looked an awful lot like the thing they did before. So when the Burnout team said, we're tired, we don't want to do Need for Speed, like the Burnout team started doing Need for Speed, then they said, we don't want to do racing games anymore, let us pitch something else, and EA said, sure, why don't go ahead. The game they pitched was a game about driving vehicles around really fast. So is this going to... almost all of the games I've ever worked on were RPGs. The one game I worked on that wasn't an RPG was very RPG adjacent. So do I know? No. What do I expect? I expect it's going to end up being an RPG. So many of my inbuilt instincts and skill sets are RPG adjacent. My game design skills are very much focused on RPGs. I wouldn't have the slightest idea how to balance a shooter or to build shooter mechanics. Definitely one of the reasons. I mean, so TLDR probably. I'm going to be honest about it. So hopefully you enjoyed this format. It was obviously a lot more stilted than a pre-recorded video, but we got to chat as we went. Let me know if you like this. Add a comment probably too outside of the chat if you enjoyed the format, because if you did, we'll probably do it this way going forward. It's obviously this work. This took an hour and 10 minutes to do the actual video. It's actually one of the more difficult videos to do because getting all of the footage of all of the different metrics takes quite a bit of time, and then it takes quite a bit of editing, and then the video doesn't actually it's usually one of my worst performing videos of a given year. So this is less effort and probably does about as well, but we'll see. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you again next time. Or we will see you again next time once I figure out how to stop the stream. There we go. Goodbye.